My name is Daniel Carter, and until that day, I believed I had a strong marriage. Emily and I had been together for 8 years. She was warm, quick to laugh, and had this way of placing her hand on my arm that made even the worst days feel manageable. She used to say I made her feel safe, and I believed it. I believed everything. It started on a Thursday evening. Emily was rushing around the kitchen trying to make dinner before her late online meeting. She was distracted, almost jittery, but I chalked it up to stress. Her phone buzzed. She stepped away to grab a pot from the cabinet, and that's when it happened. The screen lit up, and a message preview appeared long enough for me to read the first line. I didn't mean to look, but it's amazing how the human brain can read an entire sentence in half a heartbeat. Can't stop thinking about last night. You're all I wanted. I froze. My stomach twisted. I told myself it had to be a misunderstanding. A prank. A scam. Anything but the truth. But then I saw the sender's name, Luke, her work friend, the guy she said barely spoke during meetings. The guy I didn't even consider a threat because I trusted her to the point of blindness. When she came back into the kitchen, I didn't confront her. Not yet. I couldn't. Instead, I watched her. I watched how her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. How she turned her phone face down. How she hummed while cooking like she was trying to cover the silence between us. Every couple of minutes, the screen would glow again under her hand. I felt like I was drowning while standing perfectly still. That night, after she fell asleep, I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at her phone, where it rested on the nightstand. I didn't want to snoop. I hated snooping. But I kept thinking about those 7 words. Last night, you're all I wanted. I needed the truth, even if it shattered what was left of me. My hands shook as I unlocked her phone. I knew her passcode. She told me years ago. That part hurt more than I expected. The trust had once been mutual. The messages were all there. Weeks of late-night conversations, flirty jokes, compliments she used to reserve for me, and then the messages from the night before. They met at a bar just for a drink. They stayed out for hours. There were no explicit details, but I didn't need them. The emotional cheating was enough. The lies were enough. I read one line over and over because it was like a knife every time. Being with you felt right, right? As if our marriage had been the wrong choice. I didn't say a word. I didn't wake her up or scream or throw anything. Instead, I packed a small bag, walked downstairs, and sat on the couch until sunrise. I felt numb, like my emotions had gone offline just to protect me from collapsing. When she came down the next morning, she looked surprised to see me awake so early. She asked if something was wrong, and I simply handed her phone to her. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse. I just said, read it. Her face drained of color. She whispered my name, but I walked past her toward the door. She reached out to grab my arm, and for a second, I felt that old spark, a familiar warmth of her touch, but it wasn't comforting anymore. It was betrayal wrapped in memory. Daniel, she said, voice trembling, it's not what you think. Really? I asked quietly. Because I think you gave your heart to someone else, and I just happened to find out last. She tried to explain. She said she'd been lonely. That stress made her do things she regretted. She said she was confused, that she never meant to cross a line. She begged me not to leave, claiming she thought I was bluffing, that I just needed time. But she didn't understand. Once trust collapses, it doesn't warn you or give you a slow fade. It just drops, like a floor giving out from under your feet. I walked out the front door and felt the cold air hit my face. It stung, but it was honest. That alone made it better than the warmth I was leaving behind. Days passed before she stopped trying to call. I didn't block her, but I didn't pick up either. I needed space to breathe, to think, to understand what part of me still wanted her and what part needed to let her go. And here's the hardest truth of all. I still loved her. Love doesn't vanish just because someone betrays you. Sometimes the heart hangs on longer than it should, hoping for a version of the past that can't ever return. Weeks later, Emily asked to meet. I agreed, not because I wanted to go back, but because closure felt overdue. We met at a small diner near the edge of town. She looked exhausted, remorseful, almost fragile. She asked if we still had a chance. I told her the truth, maybe in another version of life, where honesty came before secrets. She cried. I almost did too. But I knew then that walking away wasn't an act of punishment. It was an act of survival. I read his name once, felt my heart drop, and walked out. She thought I was bluffing. She never expected me to actually leave. But sometimes the strongest thing a person can do is not hold on. It's letting go before the last pieces of yourself fall apart. And that is how our story ended, not with screaming or revenge or drama, but with quiet heartbreak and the slow, steady realization that trust, once broken, rarely finds its way home again. If you take anything from my story, let it be this. Love deeply, but don't lose yourself trying to fix what someone else decided to break.